Hello and welcome back to Suspended Fanimation. I'm your host, Dennis Patholkis, and this is Preacher, Season 4, Episode 10, End of the World. It is the final episode, the last episode. Everything's done from here on out, and it just finished like 2 or 3 minutes ago here. Yeah, I know it was on earlier if you paid for it and all that stuff. I'm not going to pay for it. Sorry, just wasn't worth paying for it. Before I get into it, let me do a little bit of business first. If you like what you see here, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. Also, you can hit the dislike button. You just go down in the comment section, tell me what it is you don't like, give me some constructive criticism, some feedback, if you will. Also, if you want to know when I'm beyond live again next, you can hit the bell down below, and you can go into the bell settings and get as many or as little notifications as you want. I also have my schedule up on suspendedfanimation.com. I also mirror that over on my Facebook page as well. I have a Twitter, I have an Instagram, and I have a Patreon page, which I will have tiers up at the end of the year. That is it. There we go. That is all of it. So, spoiler alert, I am going to spoil the shit out of the episode. If you have not seen the episode, go and watch it. Come on back. This will be a video. You can comment down below in the comment section. Thank you, Viking Bitch, for the paddle. So where do we start here? Yes, this is the final episode of the series. It's canceled, of course, and with good reason. It was starting to lose viewers. It maybe hit a million viewers at some point in time, and then it slipped down below 500,000 viewers this season. So it's been happening like that. Yeah, Jasper, I don't watch that. Sorry. Yeah. It wasn't because of me, David. It was not because of me that it got canceled. It got canceled long before I even started doing the last season. So I didn't do season 3. I've only been doing season 4, and they announced this was going to be the last season anyway. So not my fault. So let's get started here. So we go to North Dakota and we see this military base, and we're following a woman in uniform, and she's bringing a launch codes in, and they go underground, and they're in where the keys get turned and all that stuff. And there are 4 people in the room, and she hands over the codes to a senior guy, and he hands them out to the 2 guys sitting at the console. And one of the guys sitting at the console shoots the guy that's next to him, and she shoots the guy that's in command, and they rip off their uniforms, and we see that they are actually Grail agents and that they are there to watch the end of the world. Basically, they're there to start the end of the world is what's going to happen. And so they're watching the TV because they need to see when Humperdoo dances. So we see Cass in the dressing room with Humperdoo and God, and Cass is telling Humperdoo that he looks great. He looks like Fred Astaire. And, God says, funny thing about Fred Astaire, I've got some stories and all this stuff. And Humperdoo is, kind of frightened. He doesn't really want to go out there, all that kind of stuff. And, Cass just asked me, he goes, why don't you just blow up the world and be done with it? And God's like, well, that would be cheating, wouldn't it? It's all been around free will anyway, is what he says. And that's what it's all about. And he goes out to go sit amongst the crowd is what's going to happen there. And Cass is like, you just like to watch, don't you? You just really want to watch. And we see the countdown still happening. They have about 8 minutes left, and the Messiah is announced to come out on stage. So why Humperdoo dancing? Why not, David? The whole thing I liken it to is that it's a song, it's a dance kind of thing. It's watching the world burn while someone's dancing to it kind of thing. People are at home watching this on TV while they could be out trying to stop what's happening. And I think that was kind of the whole thing, is that a lot of people are at home watching shit that's irrelevant on TV when they could be out doing things to better mankind. I think that's what the subtle argument was supposed to be there on that one. I like a lot of people, be included. So there we go. So we see Jesse, of course, fighting the Saint of all killers, and Saint gets him and knocks him down, pulls out the gun, and Jesse goes, I don't think you might as well do it, but I don't think the parents are going to be happy if you do. And that's when they turn towards the door, and we see the angel and demon have shown up at the door, and they're there to protect their son. Featherstone, in the meantime, has her gun, and she's telling Tulip about meeting Klaus and how it changed her and everything. And Tulip just starts making fun of her, and Featherstone gets pissed off and shoots at the corpse that's embedded in the wall, which somehow still has blood in it, considering that God, I thought, drained all the blood out of it for Cass. But hey, um, and she goes, you people make fun of all as righteous people, and you're doing everything for yourself. You never think of anybody else, and that's how you're not going to end up in heaven, and blah 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 blah. And she goes, I'll show you what happens when the righteous lay with the wicked. And she puts the gun underneath uh her chin there and pulls the trigger, and dry lock. Well, actually it jams. And she's like, shit, I can't get anything right. And Tulip goes, can I see the gun for a second? She goes, this is what the problem is with the Sig Sauer. And she unjams it. And she goes, you know what? I'm going to keep this for a little bit. And Featherstone's like, that's fine. I got plenty of them. And Tulip says, sometimes doing something for yourself is just as righteous as, doing it for another cause, kind of thing. We see Jesus and Hitler are still fighting it out. I mean, just knock down, drag out. That's pretty much all they've been doing this episode. That's all they do this episode is fight. Hairstar is still put on hold, despite him telling the guy that on the other end of the line that is the end of the world. The end of the world is coming, and he needs to get this thing done now. He cannot have someone come and take a look at it because it's going to be too long. Yeah. We see God out in the audience, and the couple in front of him actually notice him, go, oh, nice to meet you, great work you've done. Hey, I want to bend your ear about something a little bit. It's like, oh shit. Cass in the meantime is trying to force Humperdew out onto the stage, and Humperdew does not want, he just wants to hide inside the wardrobe there. And Tulip comes in the room and says, Cass, what are you doing? And she locks the door. And that's when we see that, we start cutting between different fights. We see Jesus and Hitler fighting, the Saint and Jesse and the angels and the angel and demon all fighting. Hairstar and the fax machine. He's beating the shit out of the fax machine. And we see Tulip walking towards Cass because we know those two are about to fight too at this point. Yeah. Very, very weird stuff going on. And we see we're coming down to the last seconds to the end of the world there. Eugene wakes up in the hospital with his face all bandaged up, and we hear the doctor saying that the best plastic surgeons came in. Don't worry about it. We fixed your face. We think everything's good. We're going to unwrap it and take a look at it. And they unwrap his face and go, oh my God. And it's still his same face that he's got, of course. And nothing's changed with him, unfortunately. The Saint, in the meantime, is fighting the angel and the demon. He mortally wounds the angel, and the angel crawls over to Jesse and basically tells him, that he has to protect Genesis, of course. And the Saint ends up slaughtering the demon, and he turns to Jesse, and he's got the gun trained on Jesse, and Jesse goes, you hear that? He goes, it's peace and quiet. He goes, isn't that what you were offered? Peace and quiet? He goes, family picnics, things like that. He goes, you want that kind of thing all over again? And that's where we cut out of that one. And then we cut back to Jesus and Hitler still fighting. And I mean, they're just lifting up, knockout, drag out, like body blows, all this stuff. And Jesus just, is really beating the shit out of Hitler, which is good. Yeah. We'll go back to the Eugene thing in a minute there, Penn. So yeah, Tulip comes in and tells Cass to move out of the way so she can kill Humperdew. And he says he won't do it, and tells her, you know what, I love you, but you keep hitting me, you keep hurting me. And he goes, and I haven't hurt you back. He goes, but I'm telling you right now, you hit me again, I'm gonna fucking kill you, is what he says. So she apologizes and hits him again, and they just start going at it. I mean, just full on blown, going at each other. God, in the meantime, is in the crowd and he's bored because they keep bringing in uh, filler guests to fill in for Humperdew since he isn't out on stage as of yet. And Featherstone has Hair Star at gunpoint and wants him to step out onto you know, onto the plastic. She wants him to step out in the plastic because of what he's done. And he says, "You know what? I just called a sub commander. We got a sub waiting." He goes, "Oh, well, the world's ash. We're going to live under the sea. Both you and I. We can talk about all our books, favorite books. We can do yoga." And he goes, "And I can, my anus can pleasure you," as he says. And he says, "Wouldn't that be nice, Flutterman?" And she looks at him and goes, "My name's not Flutterman. It's Featherstone." And she starts to raise her gun, saying that she is just and whatever. And we hear a gunshot, and we see her fall back onto the plastic, and she's been shot in the head. Finally, she does not fly away on her stupid pantsuit wings. So yes, she's shot in the head finally. Jesse, in the meantime, we see Jesse kill the saint of all killers with the angel sword, and he walks out of the chapel. Yeah. And Cass and Tulip are fighting when the timer goes to 0, and the soldiers won't launch anything yet. The soldiers that are sitting in the North Dakota bunker, and she goes, "The timer is 0," is what he says. He goes, "Yeah, but we have to wait until the Messiah dances. That's the cue, when he dances." And God is kind of fielding the couple who are, asking him all these questions. And he's like, you know, "Where's the Messiah at? When someone should be checking on the Messiah." He goes, "Why don't you go check on the Messiah?" And then he also sends a guard as well to go and check and see what's going on with Humperdew. And yeah, so as he goes to send somebody out there, the door is locked. We see Cass and Tulip still going at it in the room, fighting each other. She's stabbing him in the neck, and he gets the gun away from her, and he's looking at her. And she goes, "Cat," we see the guard outside. He's banging on the door to like get ready to take the door down. And Tulip looks at Cass and says, "Cassidy, what are you doing? It's time." And he's holding on to his neck, and he looks at the gun. He looks over at Humperdew and he goes, "Yeah, you're right." And he turns and he says, "I'm sorry," and shoots Humperdew in the chest and kills him. And we see God looks pretty upset out in the stands there. Yeah. So we see Cass, Tulip, and Jesse. They're standing over Humperdew's body, and Cass is talking about how Humperdew liked everybody, even the assholes, as he says, and he's crying over him, and how great a guy he was, and all that stuff, and how much he loved him and everything. And we see Jesus and Hitler still fighting, and Hitler, of course, calls Jesus a Jew. And Hitler goes, "That's right." And he strangles the shit out of Hitler and kills him. And when he stands up, God comes in and says, "My son, it's time." He goes, "You wanted to be the Messiah. Now's the time to be the Messiah." And we see Jesse go out on stage and use the voice to tell him to listen to him, because they're booing him when he comes out on stage, because it's all gray allegiance, of course. And he says, "Nope. Um, the, you know, the apocalypse is over," is what he says. And they, of course, he used the voice in order to listen to them at that point, to listen to him, I should say. So Jesus refuses to become the Messiah, and God tells him, he tells God, "Why don't you try being merciful for a change?" And he starts quoting the Bible about love and forgiveness and all this stuff, and God just gets pissed off and walks straight on out, as in the middle of him talking, and jumps on his motorcycle and rides away. Well, actually, he sees Hairstar out in the hallway, and Hairstar's got these buckets full of stuff, and he looks at Hairstar and tells him to run, and Hairstar just starts running. And then God goes and jumps on his motorcycle and drives away. Yeah. So Jesse uses the voice to basically tell everyone the apocalypse is over, and that for everyone to turn off their TVs. So everyone at home who's watching this shit, to turn off your TVs, and they do. And We see someone come into Eugene's room and turns off the heart monitor, turns off the alert for the morphine and all that stuff, and gives them the button. Says, "When I leave, just hit the buttons as many times as you want. And it's terrible, the pain that you must be in, but there's a way out." And basically, he's trying to help Eugene commit suicide. Is what's going to happen, because Eugene's had a rough life, and because the way Eugene looks, that maybe he should just kill himself. And Eugene finally goes, "You know what? Fuck you." He goes, the worst thing, he goes, "Yeah, it's been hard." He goes, "But the hardest thing is dealing with assholes like you." And then he says, "I'm Eugene Root. And, I'm not, fuck you," is what he basically says to him. I was like, that's nice. Actually, we got a little bit of Eugene's story in there. Not a lot, but a little bit. And then we see Jesse is up on stage, and he says, "You know what? God's taken off again." He goes, "And I've been searching for him for, it seems like, all my life." He goes, "And because I'm not going to search for him anymore." He goes, "No, screw this." And he goes, and then he used the voice, and he goes, "But you assholes, you're going to go look for him. You're going to go find him. Do it." And so he gets them to all stand up and walk out and go and look for God for him. So we see Eugene back out in the street again with his patched up guitar. He throws some money in his case to start it off, and he keeps starting up Closing Time, the really shitty 90s song Closing Time. And he tries it a couple times. He starts, stops, starts, stops, starts, stops. And finally he stops and starts playing a punk tune, and starts getting money from people, throwing money in as he's jamming away on the guitar, even though it is an acoustic guitar. So yeah, we'll get to the F-bombs in a little bit there, Elliot. Yeah, so Tulip, Cass, and Jesse are on the stage at Masada, and Tulip, and they're like, "Yeah, it's been really kind of crazy, but it's really quiet now." And then Tulip finally asks, "Now what?" And we jump ahead 2 years later, and we see Jesse and Tulip running from guys that have guns. And of course, they've stolen a rare distributor cap that doesn't get made anymore for a 1930s car. And they're in Texas, and there are people that are gunning for them, people that are speaking Spanish that want them dead. And we don't see how they get away from them, but obviously they did get away from them, because she says what they have. And "Do you have your lighter? Don't tell me you lost your lighter again." So she must have obviously cobbled something together from the shit that they had. She MacGyvered something to get them out of it. And they end up going back home, and we see that uh, the barkeep that was with them over in the Middle East, there where Masada was located at, is with them now in Texas, and he's putting in the distributor cap for this car for an old lady that basically that's her car they're fixing. And they ask him if anything else, went wrong. And he goes, "Oh, there's a couple accidents." Well, three. And then we see that they have a baby, and they have a little baby that's laying in the crib. And Jesse and Tulip are talking over the baby's crib, and he tells her that Cass called from a peyote conference in Mexico. And they're like, "Why doesn't he? Is he ever going to come back?" And like, "I don't know, maybe he will." And he gets a phone call, so Jesse goes to answer that phone call, and Tulip ends up singing over the baby's crib. And when Jesse comes back, he says they found him, and he's in San Antonio, and "I need to go." He goes, "I want to go." And she's like, "All right." So Jesse arrives at the Alamo, and we see all these Grail agents standing outside. They've surrounded the Alamo. And who's there but God in his RV? And he's got a cup in his hand, and he's sitting outside, and he invites Jesse over to sit down and have a drink with him. And Jesse uses the voice and tells the Grail people to go back about their lives. And we see that they've been basically going for 2 years straight. And we see a couple of them drop and pretty much die right there on the spot because of how long they've been going. So Jesse says, "I've had so many questions." And he goes, "What about kids with cancer?" And he goes, "Well, that's to test you, basically, it makes people better." all this stuff. And he goes, what about other religions? Are they all wrong? He goes, basically, no. He goes, but they're going to hell, right? And God's like, not necessarily, which basically means yes, they are. And then he goes, what about life on other planets? No, no, no other life on other planets. No aliens with ray guns or anything like that. It's just all gases and, compounds and things like that. Because that's kind of disappointing. And see this woman come out of the RV and say that they're at a bean dip. I'm going to the Piggly Wiggly. You want anything? No, nobody wants anything from the Piggly Wiggly because, good God. And then God tells Jesse that, you used to, your father was a good man. He didn't swear, he didn't drink, he didn't crack open a Playboy, nothing like that. And you used to pray for him to go to hell every single day. He goes, but I didn't answer your prayers, is what he says. He's in heaven. Your father's fine. And Jesse's, pretty good about that at that point. And he goes, well, I did all this because I love you, Jesse, is what he says. This is all, everything I did was to better you, to make, because I loved you. And he goes, there, I said it. Now it's your turn to tell me that you love me. And Jesse's like, what? He goes, yeah, it's now your turn to tell me that you love me. And he goes, oh, wait, so this is what this is all about. This is what creation is all about, is basically so that we could love you, kind of thing. So you get some kind of adoration. And he's like, yeah. He goes, I don't think so. And he goes, well, you're not going back up to heaven either. He says, we'd be better off without you up in heaven. We don't need a needy little bitch like you up there. And then he proceeds to beat the shit out of God by forcing him to, we know that the voice works on him, and he forces him up in the air and then down in the air, down, up in the air, down in the air, and he punches the shit out of him. And God says, you know what? He goes, you're only doing this because you had the power. If you didn't have the power, you wouldn't be standing up to me. He goes, oh, really? And Jesse lets Genesis go. And God's like, why did you do that? He goes, because now you know you're going to get my full wrath. And Jesse punches God, knocks him down. And God gets angry and is going to do the wrath of God thing. And Jesse's like, I'm not looking at it. Yeah, I don't care. And God gets up and goes, well, all I want was unconditional love. That's all I wanted. And Jesse says, well, you're not going to get it. And I think we're done here. I'm going to go see a movie kind of thing, because I don't care about any of this. And God gets pissed off, goes back into his RV, and all his replacement creations are there. And they're all saying that they love him, and he's telling them to shut up, and they're all screaming from their pens, we love you, we love you. And he gets pissed off and reaches into one of the pens and snaps one of their necks when they all start screaming at him that they love him, because of course they don't want to die next. So the next thing we see is Jesus working at a kind of like a Home Depot store. That's where he's been left off, and he's very disillusioned. He's, calling people assholes after they've left. We see Hairstar in a golf course when the Pensacola PD chief comes up and tells him he's under arrest, and Hairstar makes a run for it. And the chief tackles him, knocks him down, and he starts masturbating, or so we think. And when the chief stands up and his other officer is there with him, and she goes, my God, he's masturbating. And then she looks at the chief and goes, where's your gun? And then Hairstar rolls over and he's got the chief's gun in his hand, and he kills both of them and continues his round of golf with the chief and the officer buried in the sand trap. Yeah. So Hairstar pretty much gets away with it at this point. And where am I? There we go. So the saint in heaven, God ends up in heaven. And he sees all the heavenly hosts are slaughtered at this point, and the saint of all killers is there. And he goes, well, wait a minute. He goes, how did you get here? And he goes, well, deathbed confession. So we see that Jesse actually gave the saint of all killers a confession in the chapel. That's what he talked him into before he killed him. So he would send the saint to heaven. And he goes, yeah, Jesse kind of figured you'd make your way back to heaven, even though he told you not to. And he goes, and he knew we had some unfinished business, which we do. And God's like, "No, you don't want to do this." And we see that the Saint's got his hand, over his gun, waiting to draw, and God has his hand twitching with some, lightning there. And God basically tells him, stand aside, let me take the throne, and I'll give you, everything back to you, your life, your family. And he goes, I was the one that created love. And he goes, I'll give you an eternity of love. And in return, and the Saint says, well, what if I choose hate? And that's when, God starts yelling at him, and they're like, you really want to do this kind of thing? And they square off and they draw, and the Saint wins. He shoots God in the head and kills them. And then the Saint takes God's throne, and we see uh, the Saint's daughter's little doll drop next to the throne. So Jesse and Tulip are in a drive-in. They're watching a John Wayne movie in the drive-in, and we see Genesis kind of flash across the sky, and then we flash forward 40 years. And both Tulip and Jesse are dead. They're in their graves, and their daughter is standing over their graves, who looks suspiciously like Ruth Nega, like Tulip. And Cassidy's there as well. And Tulip's daughter, Tulip and Jesse's daughter is talking about how all these stories that she heard about Cassidy, but she never met him before, and they were wondering when he was going to return. And Cass said, "Yeah, time just kind of got away from me." He goes, "I always thought I'd return, but I never did." And he says, she says, my mom really loved you. She talked about you all the time, and she really did love you. And you know, she says, he says, she shot me twice in the chest once, and I still feel that pain even all these years later, kind of thing. And she goes, well, and he says, well, maybe it's time for me to try someplace new, is what he says. And then she asks him, she goes, will we ever see you again? He goes, I'd like to think it. And we see him walk off, and we still are focused on her in the picture, but we see him in the background blurred walking into the sunlight, and we see him catch on fire, and he's burning to death as he is walking away. And that's where we leave the entire series off. So everyone's dead. Well, everyone in our, that we were following in the story are dead, except for the Saint. The Saint of Killers is still alive, and Jesus, and Eugene. Yeah, yes, he did hung the umbrella on the tombstone. That's right, Pen. So how was this as the end? Really fucking rushed, quite honestly. There are stuff that could have been, like I said, they could have used the rest of the season to actually make this better, and they didn't. I don't think it was sequel bait, David, to tell you the truth. I really don't think it was sequel bait. The way they kind of ended things, I mean, sure, you can go back and you have 42 years between all of that. I mean, you could go back and do that part, but everything else, I mean, yeah, I don't think there's going to be that much story involved. So I know there's been talk about it and all that. They said, oh, well, there could be a season 5 if someone else decided to pick it up. No, it's not going to happen. Yeah. Was that show still on Apple Crow or Killjoys? I kid. It's not anymore. That's why. It's been canceled too. Yeah. I really want to know who the girl in the RV was, and if she got the bean dip. Yeah. Nomad Tatum, they did a Harry Potter Game of Thrones ending. I don't know about that. They was it a cop-out ending? They did it to kind of close the door on any kind of sequels, is what they did. That's what they did with this ending. It was very rushed. And exactly, Pen. I've seen worse as well. They gave us an ending, but they could have actually used the entire season better than what they did. and they didn't. So, yeah. Time to End the Walking Dead. Please review it. No, I'm not going to review. It's the same thing. Okay, zombies come, they fight them off, they almost get wiped out. They have to start all over again. They build themselves back up. Someone comes to rip it down. Zombies come. They almost die. They survive. They go to another place. Wash, rinse, repeat. Wash, rinse, repeat. Wash, rinse, repeat. That's all it is. You figure that out by the second or third time, you should be okay. Apple Crow says, I kind of feel like the Saint of Killers killing both Satan and God would have ended everything. Yeah, you would think, but he took the throne, so who knows? Yeah. I don't have any powers, David. I don't do that. Sometimes Pen, a main character dies, or what they do is they make it seem like the main character dies in The Walking Dead, and they actually ship them off and say, "Oh, we're going to take care of that in a movie." Yeah, like what's happening to Michonne and Rick Grimes. It's only if you're going to go away to college that they kill you off your main character. See what I did there? Yeah. I gave up on Walking Dead in episode 1. Couldn't the Saint restart everything if the show gets picked up again? He could, Nomad. I mean, he is sitting on the throne of God and technically has all of God's power, so sure. Maybe I was confusing with Fear the Walking Dead. Fear the Walking Dead's the same stuff. Yeah. They're starting a third Walking Dead show at some point. I can't remember what it's called. Well, actually, I don't think they've named it as of yet because I don't think they know what it is either. They're hiring people already. I mean, casting people for it, but yeah, they announced it a couple months ago. That's it. It's zombie programming. That's what it is. Yeah. It will live on forever and ever and ever. So yeah, I mean, this one it never really found its groove, to tell you the truth. The first season, I'll tell you this, the first season of Preacher was really damn good. And that was because everyone's firing on all cylinders. They were on their A game. And then the second season sucked. I mean, just sucked because they got, bogged down in the fucking apartment in New Orleans. And that's where just died. It was supposed to be a road trip. And so what happened was when you have your two main characters that are married in real life get a divorce and then don't want to be together on the show, you know, and you have to kind of split them up, find some way of splitting them up on there. That's when your show kind of goes to hell, quite literally, at times. Season 3 was okay. I mean, there could have been some more stuff in season 3 that would have felt better, but yeah. I felt like the Grail was a threat in season 1 and 2, and then a joke in season. Yeah, I kind of felt that way too, Apple Crow. That the Grail became kind of a joke, and it wasn't a good. Yes, it's supposed to be a joke about conservatism and all that kind of stuff, but and I'm by far not a conservative, but it just became kind of a cartoony kind of thing when it could have been something a little bit better. Yeah. I feel like the Grail was a threat. Oh, sorry, I read that. The show finale kind of sucked. That is all. Good night. Thanks, Mufinobi, for your drive-by, your drive-by commentary. Wait, you can have season 5 with Featherstone and Eugene. How? Featherstone's dead. Eugene's the only one that's alive. So yeah. Oh, good God. Yeah. And we go to bam. Yeah. Thanks, Bird Avocado. You've been timed out. So they made Hairstar a joke. He could have been, yeah, he could have been a bigger threat. They made the whole thing a joke by the end there too. Yes, the comet that streaked across the sky was Genesis. And it was. No, it's okay, Pen. I took care of it. Yeah, trust me, Mufinobi. I'm not going anywhere near the All Father's anus. So yeah. Yes, this is the end of it, David. That's it. Yeah. That was the final. So what happened was Seth Rogen and his writing partner Evan Goldman went from Sony over to Lionsgate, and Sony was what they had to deal with for Preacher, and so this was their last show that they were doing as with their Sony deal. Now they're completely over to Lionsgate now at this point. That's what they're doing the boys with, and I forget what else. So their final show they're doing is going to be Future Man season 3 on Hulu. That's going to be the final thing they do with Sony, and then after that they are completely over to Lionsgate. That's the main reason why this thing got canceled. That, and also the viewership just tanked completely. Yeah, and that's what happens when you're your main people, Rogan and Goldman, end up leaving and going someplace else. They're not paying any attention to the work that came before. Yeah, I didn't like Eugene at all, Jasper, in this season at all. I did not like him. And what little we got of him, it just I was like, yeah. Yeah, Nomad, Future Man season 3, which I believe is in January, is where that's going to be ending too. They announced that as well. It's all part of their deal with Lionsgate. Now, if they are moving over to Lionsgate, everything that they had with Sony is done or ending and done, I should say. Apparently, Hairstar thought it did. Yeah. Would you review a sequel, prequel of Preacher? Depends on who does it, David, and then also who is gonna be in it. Because I don't think they're gonna get anybody. Dominic Cooper is already signed on to a. I think he's on like one of those CSI shows or something. He's got a new show that's supposed to be coming out, I believe, in fall. And Ruth Negga is now doing movies, and I believe she's doing Broadway as well, if I'm not mistaken. And then who knows what Joseph Gilgun is doing at this point. They keep hinting at Ashface and then drag it out. Yeah, who knows? The girl in line at Home Depot is wearing an Arseface shirt. Yeah, which I thought was kind of funny. I forgot about that. I forgot to mention that. How did Hairstar even do it with Featherstone with his faucet? So supposedly Jasper, he had been made whole again by God. That's why he had the hair. His eye was back to normal, and his penis was back as well. Didn't have the faucet anymore, but he still liked the butt sex stuff because of what happened when Hoover had sent him some male prostitutes instead of female prostitutes back. That's a callback to what was that, season 2? Or was that season? Yeah, I believe it was season 2. Yeah. So they kept running with that gag. Where did the faucet go? Another mystery for another season. No, it's God said that if he got Humperdoo back, that he would make him whole again. That was the whole deal. And that's why he had the blonde hair and the eye was fixed and all of that. Matt Damon is in Bourne Pandemic. Zombie Jason Bourne never dies. Yeah. Well, they are doing Treadstone on USA, I believe it is, which is supposed to be a series now about kind of like the program that made Jason Bourne. And it's supposed to go rogue now and all that stuff, which I'm like, man, thanks. Why don't we just do Universal Soldier all over again? Because that's pretty much all it is. Yeah. Well, the faucet went somewhere. It went off into the universe. It became atoms. Who knows? So, yeah. Not the greatest episode in the world. Not the worst episode either. If I was going to give it a number, I would say a 6.5 out of 10. Yeah. There you go. So what's coming up? Tomorrow I'm off. Tuesday is going to be Is It Worth My Time? And I'm going to be doing I Am Mother from Netflix. Yes, I Am Mother. Wednesday I'm off. Thursday is going to be another Is It Worth My Time? And I don't know what I'm doing as of yet. I'll pick something. Friday, of course, is Titans season 2, which is actually pretty good now that Akiva Goldsman is off ruining Picard. And Saturday, of course, is Saturday Morning Blast Off, where I take the genre news of the week and any of the genre stuff you guys want to talk about and talk about that there. And then Sunday, next Sunday, is Mr. Robot. Mr. Robot premieres next Sunday. I am not touching Farscape, David. Yeah. I am not touching Farscape. So, who knows? Maybe I'll do Comrade Detective or something like that. Or, yeah. I'll have to check out Titan season 2 since I stopped early on in season 1. Yeah, season 1's pretty much a shit show, Jasper. I'm going to tell you that right now. Just watch the last 2 episodes of season 1 if you dare. And make sure at the end of the last season of season 1 you stay through the end of the credits, because there is something at the end of those credits. And then episode 1 of season 2 was supposed to be tacked on to the end of season 1. So that's going to be the other shitty episode. So you have to get through 3 shitty episodes to get to season 2. Then you'll be okay. Yeah. Farscape was already canceled. No need for Dennis to watch it. Thanks, Apple Crow. Yeah. Yeah, Doom Patrol is so much better. I mean, it really is. I mean, Doom Patrol, Legion, Swamp Thing, all that stuff just really, 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 really spoiled me. Yeah. Yeah, Jean-Claude Van Damme in Street Fighter. Back when he was young and coked up, allegedly. Yeah. I'm sure Rick and Morty will reference it. Most likely. They reference everything. Rick and Morty's good. Like I said, I would cover it. It's just that like I said, the fans are too fucking rabid. And quite honestly, I don't need them here. Yeah. It's yeah, I know, Jasper. I've heard about Undone. It's just something I haven't gotten into. Yeah. All right. So with that said, if you like what you see here, hit the subscribe button, hit the like, share, and subscribe. If you're still on the fence about joining up, take a look up here and you're going to see a video pop up. It's basically going to take a video from my vast video library based on the algorithms of all the stuff you've been watching and match it up with that and stick it there. And then up here is going to be Saturday Morning Blast Off. That's what's going to be up there. So, yeah. Let's see what we got here. Oop, wrong one. There we go. And sorry, I was taking care of a little bit of business there. That's all. Hey, Nomad Tatum, you're subbed in. Welcome, man. I know you've been in here before. I remember seeing you in here. So welcome officially. Yeah. See you, David. Yeah. There's gonna be some more stuff that comes up. Like I said, next week, of course, is gonna be Mr. Robot, and then 2 weeks after that, Watchmen shows up. I'm trying to think what else. I don't have my book in front of me at the moment, but take a look at the schedule. You'll see it all up there. I change it up every Monday. Yeah. Yeah, Righteous Gemstones, Jasper, I have no interest in whatsoever. I'm sorry. I really don't like a lot of the actors that are in that. So actually, I don't like 3 out of the 3 actors that are in that. So yeah, nothing that I'd actually watch. But yeah, so I can't watch stuff that has actors in it that I'm really not that fond of. Yeah. I'll wait for Is It Worth My Time for Watchmen. Well, I'm actually going to review it, Apple Crow. I'm going to see how I'm going to work it in with Mr. Robot. I might have to actually watch both shows like back to back kind of thing, and then do a back to back review. So I'll, Watchmen review and then Mr. Robot, or Mr. Robot and Watchmen. I don't know how it's gonna work out. My hand's gonna be killing me by the end from doing all the notes. But yeah. So yeah, thank you everybody who made it this far through the through the review, and thank you for joining me, and thank you out there too if you made it this far in the video. Until next time, which is going to be on Tuesday for Is It Worth My Time? I'm going to let you guys go for the night. Hey, Ejar, you came in at the very end, as always. Yeah. So I will see you guys then. So don't let the door hit your ass on the way out. Otherwise, you may find out that, someone's waiting for you and keeping you from sitting on the throne. Because, that happens every now and then. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.